now is Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz of Florida. He previously served as Florida's Director of Emergency Management, where he led the agency's response to Hurricane Michael when that Category 5 hurricane hit the Florida Panhandle. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning. What are you seeing in the state of Florida? What are you hearing from your contacts, and how has the response been so far?
No, thanks, Willie. So, I mean, listen, what's going on now, obviously, is what Florida Emergency Management does. I mean, these folks are the best in the industry. They are battle tested. They just went through, obviously, Hurricane Ian, and so they know what worked, what didn't work, and they fixed all of those issues. And that's what happens every storm. They do after action reviews, and then they make sure they're ready for the next event. This obviously is a different challenge because even though they had Hurricane Hermine in 2016, this is far stronger. We've seen record storm surge in these areas, all the way from Tampa up along the entire west coast of Florida. And so, you know, the National Guard is activated. All of the private vendors are activated. The power companies will have tens of thousands of line crews, water, ice. They'll have MREs ready to eat. The shelters are open. They'll have people, people working in those shelters. Medical staff will be ready to go. Search and rescue teams will be ready to go to help people who unfortunately may not have evacuated, that may be in areas that are affected by this significant storm surge. But look, we're not out of it yet. I mean, the eye wall is still moving across the state of Florida, even though, yes, this is a less populated area than where Hurricane Ian hit. There's 160,000 people without a power already, and I expect significant changes, unfortunately, to the way of life of these rural and small towns that live on the Gulf Coast.
Congressman, you're right, of course, and you served in that role, that Florida is very good at this, that the state government knows how to do this. It doesn't mean there won't be devastation and death, and it won't be terrible for a lot of people, but at least Florida knows how to prepare. How and when does that begin? Just from your point of view as someone who's done this, how do you begin to manage a problem of this scope and a storm this strong?
Yeah, listen, I've been in that room. I've been at that podium before, you know, for Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Sally, Hurricane Dorian. And so I can tell you the Division of Emergency Management, even before they went to a level 1 there on Sunday, they were getting ready for this on Friday. And so what happens is it's all about obviously gathering all those assets, activating all those people, and starting to pre-position them in place so that you can get them as close as possible, keeping them out of harm's way, of course, but getting them to as close as possible, getting all those assets, especially those life, health, safety assets, those that food, that water, that ice, and those search and rescue teams, so that as soon as the winds die down, folks can come in. But this has been going on for days, Willie. You know, they've trained for this, they've gone through this, and so this is something that as soon as they knew that this was going to be a storm headed our way, well, they didn't know the exact location, everything started in motion days ago.
Yeah, Governor DeSantis pointed out a couple of hours ago at his briefing, 1.2 million gallons of fuel have been pre-staged, with much more on the way. Even those Starlink transceivers that can link up to get internet service to satellites, generators and everything else are in place. Are you confident, Congressman, that the relationship between the federal government and the state government is working well through this process? We know that President Biden and Governor DeSantis have spoken many, many times. I'm sure they're speaking already this morning. What does that coordination look like from your standpoint?
Well, obviously, you know, the governor and President Biden have a lot of experience, unfortunately, doing this, not just from Hurricane Ian, but let's remember this Surfside incident in South Florida, in Dade County. And so Florida and the federal government, FEMA, have a good working relationship. FEMA's on the ground. They've been in that EOC. And they're going to be responding as well. I mean, again, this is what they're trained for, and this is what they do. And unfortunately, Florida's had a tremendous amount of experience. So, you know, politics aside, everyone puts that aside when these events happen. I expect to see both the White House, both FEMA and Florida's Emergency Management Agency and the governor's office working hand in glove in this response, as they have done many times before. And that's what's supposed to happen in emergency management. It's supposed to be nonpartisan. It's supposed to be bipartisan. And so at least I can say that's at least still one area of government that's still working the way it should be.
Yeah, and by all accounts, that's exactly what's happening even this morning. Congressman Jared Moskowitz of Florida, importantly also the former Florida Director of Emergency Management, we really appreciate you bringing your expertise this morning. Thank you.